What's up, Kenra? It's Lo Wheeler, your color brand ambassador, and I'm excited for this tutorial today because we are taking a classic foil technique and we're going to cross it over into a balayage aesthetic using foils. We obviously know that balayage gets different lift than a foil placement. So here we're going to get creative to give her the look with actually using the foils for the extra incubation and lift needed to create the result we're looking for, which is blended, bright, perfect hair. So let's get started. As you can see, we are looking at a very classic foily situation, and just underneath, as I'm sectioning, you can see where it gets a little bit more kind of lived in. I'm a big fan of keeping pockets of natural tones in the interior because it just gives a really nice dimension without having to foil up the whole head. So I'm very familiar with this placement, but our goal is to create some contrast and connection, and that's going to require us to go in with the Kenra 30 volume developer with the blue powder lightener. What I'm going to do is start to pull bits of dark pieces and blend them in so I get a little bit more consistency with the lift down here, and then we'll play with introducing some tones throughout the top to where you're getting a little bit more of a natural balayage vibe. I'm gonna start over the ear. She has like a little bit of layers down here, but I'm just not gonna overly worry about it because I'm gonna be teasing these sections and then getting a little balayage, foliage blend on that on the underneath of her hair. We're gonna come up at a nice soft angle, so we just get a nice hand-painted aesthetic. And again, I'm using the blue powder lightener with 30 volume. I'm just gonna lock in the sides, keep it super easy and straightforward, and move to the next section. I feel like I could even pick out the darker pieces so that we don't over process her hair, and kind of move straight into that tease. As I'm dropping down each section, I'm seeing that there's quite a bit of that heavy blonde. So before getting too deep into this one side, I'm going to take what I've already done here and copy it on the other side. So I am at the point where I'm looking at Madison's front pieces, and you know, each side has a little bit of a different pattern because she has a little bit heavier hair on the left side. So I'm just taking each section and pulling out maybe some pieces that I feel need a little bit more refinement and putting the dimension a little bit higher. Now that we're here, I'm gonna look at this whole piece of hair on each side as a veil because she really does have a lot of color in here. But my main goal would be to make this a little bit more blonde heavy in this zone and then connect the roots to the mid shaft. So to do that, I'm gonna have to think of this in two pieces. One, how I'm gonna do the dimension up on top. And then two, how I'm going to blend out this veil of color. So I'm gonna start with this dimension on top, which is super easy. We're gonna stick with a classic medium weave and then pick up all the ends that are still kind of medium-ish once we're done with that. So now that I've broken up her base and her parting, I'm gonna come in here, pick up all these little low lights, and then do a little teasy foil here. Everything else is pretty light, so I think we can open air the rest just to pop it up and make it look super diffused. Okay, now that we have some dimension being broken up in the root space and we've lifted some of those ribbons throughout, I just kind of want to balayage these front pieces. They're already light. This is just going to give it a little shade to 3 shades of pop, which is going to give us a really beautiful effect. Looking at these back sections, I don't quite mind it as much as the sides kind of looked more foily to me. But as I'm looking at this, it kind of does give a balayage effect if we were able to just drop the root a little bit and play with some tones. I think that this could be one of those scenarios where it turns into a lot of work if you let it, but it doesn't have to. So if you part her hair, we're working with like a lot of virgin base, which definitely if she was willing to wear a longer hairstyle, we would have to address this, but knowing how she likes to just have a pretty blunt bob look, it's not a high priority for us. So something I always like to challenge myself to do is think objectively of where my effort is going versus where the value is for the client. Meaning I can put all this hard work, effort, labor, and detail into this, but if it's not going to be anything that she even remotely cares about, then is it worth doing? That's the main thought process I always look at when strategizing my color. So I will be texturizing her hair here. So objectively speaking, it would make sense for me to take a little section here and to tease and tip out, but not worth doing the whole nape of the neck. So let's get it done. So here's where we're ending the application. It's super easy, very common sense, and it's gonna take her right into this balayage aesthetic that we want. For this, because she's already so close to the goal, I don't wanna over process her. So I'd like to keep checking in on a 10-minute increment to just look at where her lift is at. Ultimately, I'm not gonna let her lift any longer than 40 minutes. So when taking your foily client to balayage, you just wanna make sure that you're checking certain things like viscosity of the hair, texture, porosity, and ultimately the hair health, because you wanna make sure that no matter where you're going with the color service, that the client's hair is remaining healthy. So again, we'll check back in every 10 minutes. Here is our foil to balayage conversion. Look how soft and natural this looks. I feel like, you know, after all of 2020 and 21, I feel like there's a real trend in a natural diffused color coming back because we want low maintenance hair. So I love how this came out. We can kind of pick it apart and see all these little balayage tippy pieces that we put in there. And we had a lot of fun just taking this from just a 2-dimensional look to 3 and 4 dimensions, and it looks so soft and healthy. So much fun. And just to recap, for her shadow root, we used a 6A, which is a green base, which I happen to love for shadow roots because it mimics that natural like mousiness that many people have in their base color. So we decided to go with a 6 to get a soft blend. And then over everything else, we did a 9PV for that perfect beige. I'm such a fan. If you love this technique and try it, please tag me on Instagram. You can find me at @low_Wheeler Davis. And if you love this tutorial and want to see more, please subscribe to the Kenra Professional YouTube channel because there's so many amazing lessons on their channel. So I'm super excited, and I'll see you in more episodes.